Alright, let's do this.
Let's do what?
Huh? We're gonna record.
That way I know not.
Did you guys want to record now?
Yes.
I may have started it already.
Oh.
I get.
Wait, what?
Don't be surprised. He does this every fucking time.
Hey!
At least you weren't saying something offensive this time.
Yeah.
How much of that did you get, by the way?
I literally started it when she came back.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, we're good. All right, so welcome to the Black and Yellow Taco Gamers. I'm your host, Blackertron, and I start podcasts when no one expects it, because that's what I do. And we are here with our lovely guest and returning guest, Lauren Perrin. The one and
Howdy.
only. My boy, Dill, is in the house. I don't know how you say your full name, so you could say that if you want.
Dilkokoro.
There you go, Dilkokoro. He's back. He's in the building. Even though he's not back because it's his first time here, but he's here. It's lit, and he is Matt Damon with a Rem shirt. Don't ask me. I don't really know what's going on, but it's totally fine. That's what he looks like, apparently, in real life. That's what we've been told. And
Matt Damon.
returning Rokutsu, my boy Nikolai, down in the bottom, bottom right, yeah. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that good shit. We're going to talk about writing for anime, I guess that's what we're going to call it. But yeah, had a bunch of questions for someone in here that writes about anime all the time. Right, Dill?
Yeah, I sure do.
Hey. So I wanted
Well,
to ask you. Go ahead.
I was going to say, first of all, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you guys.
Aww.
Dude,
Welcome aboard.
This is more of a good thing for us than you. What are you talking about?
Nah.
We wanted you. All right,
No.
you didn't say, "Hey guys, can I come on, please?" Nah, dude, you were like, I'm
I went
down."
into your DMs and begged you.
Yeah, she.
I didn't even give you a choice.
Pummeled him with DMs. Like, yo, Dill, respond, please.
Yep.
I want you to be in this with me. Thanks.
We established I was sleeping when said DMs were sent, but
He's here.
I did wake up and I did accept. So here I am.
Yay.
Hey. So, Dill,
Yes,
what
sir.
is the site that you write for again?
I write on AniTAY. It's basically a grandchild site for Kotaku.
Oh.
Basically, Kotaku has a kind of its own child site. It's called Talk Amongst Yourselves. And then from there, some people branched out for more of anime-specific articles. And that's what started AniTAY. And I've been writing here at AniTAY for about a year now. A little bit over a year.
Okay. Yo, Nick, stop fucking with your mic.
Sorry, this is
I'm just like-
Yes! It's like so dominant. I'm like, all right, I need to hold it in. It's gotta be nice.
I'm like discreet as fuck, trying to like tighten.
And
up.
I see you like being so
It's
delicate and like
killing
looking
me.
up, and you're like, oh my
It's
god.
Fuck.
Oh,
Ah!
It's fine. It's fine.
Fuck this thing.
Just let it be. Just let it be. Let
It's
it
all
roll.
good. Just chill. Just
We're
chill.
live. We're live, baby.
We're hanging out. So,
Yeah, you see how
That-
rusted this fucking piece of shit is?
and are you
Ew.
still like? You said that you also write to review like manga too.
Right.
Also,
So,
you flag.
I guess you'd call this even in its own sense a great grandchild site to this. Some writers from AniTAY branched off from AniTAY, and they made a site called Taykobon. And pretty much from there, we review manga, maybe some more recent anime releases, light novels, that sort of thing. And that's just another site I write for. Lots of fun stuff. Always try to keep about an article a week or every other week
Okay,
from one of the two sites.
that's cool. And is there anything that you like specifically either specialize in or like that's like your anime? Like whenever anyone's like, "Hey, this is Dill watches this. Dill watches this." Hopefully not big order, but anything
Right.
else would be good.
Big order. I mentioned this before when before we started recording. I did have to review the manga for Big Order, and that was a disaster. Did not know it's how notoriously bad it was, but I'd say pretty much like the big series that most people know me for being passionate about would be the Monogatari series. But even though there will never be a dub for Monogatari, Most people go to
Not
me.
with that attitude.
Well, there's very language specific dialogue and stuff like that that just wouldn't really translate well. Is what I'm trying to get at. I actually write a piece on AniTAY about once a month. It's called Dubs with Dill, and I just cover pretty much whichever dub I want, really, honestly. I try to keep it topical, maybe like My Hero Academia or Your Name. Basically just highlighting what I felt were like big highlight voice acting roles, maybe a little bit about the voice actors people don't know about, and what else they've been in, that kind of stuff.
That's cool. And
That's awesome.
with this kind of position you've been thrown into, like, is this something that, like, is there any really promising dubs at this current state in like, anime?
Well, I mean, it seems like an easy cop-out answer since I just mentioned it.
You're gonna say My Hero?
It really, My Hero Academia has been on fire, really, because
Wow.
Todoroki level.
There's a big thing I've been noticing. There's a big thing I've been noticing with what Funimation's been doing. They've been going out, and I'm not sure 100% sure on the process, as far as how they do casting, because they work through different studios and they get people on board. But they took some big names. Like they took some big names from other big animation publishers. Like really, like some of the best voice actors for dubbing for Sentai works. They actually went and reached out and got them on board for projects related to the My Hero Academia dub. So it's really cool to see like kind of the best of both worlds. Like, it used to just be like either like Team Funimation or Team Sentai, but with like a project like this, everybody's playing somebody else, and it's kind of like an all-star game of top voice acting talent. Everyone's kind of, if you never noticed, like one of the best parts about My Hero Academia that you see people embrace online is how much every character kind of has their moment, like frequently.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the perfect outlet for voice talent. So like everybody gets to have their couple episodes, Lucy Christian, she got to be, she got to have her couple episodes when Uraraka had her fight, and then
she's Uraraka. Oh my god.
Yep. And
I think you broke Lauren.
Yeah, she's like my dub childhood. She was everyone.
Right, and it's like, it's funny because it's like, throughout she's just kind of there, like, no offense to the character, but just as like a support character, and all that. And then she has her fight, like the big scene, and it's like super emotional, and like she's getting real into it, and you're just like, holy moly, I couldn't believe like, they brought it up another level. And then, for All Might, like the big hero guy, like that everybody looks up to, they go out and get the guy who voices Vegeta and Piccolo, Chris Sabat, and he's.
I thought that was like actually the best casting for him. I thought that was
an amazing choice. Oh.
So when he's All Might, like the big guy, like it's like he's the best part about it though is I compare when he's like in his like weakened form to he was also in the dub for Steins Gate, a dub I really love, and he was Mr. Braun in that. So the CTR guy downstairs,
the landlord,
the landlord, and he kind of you remember in that he kind of like had like the the hard worker, I'm kind of tired, I'm just raising my kid kind of voice. He just puts that voice in when he's not like super buff All Might, and that works perfectly for what the role is. You could just have it like, you ever see like in the dubs, people always get it wrong. Like they have like the big heroic voice, and then they'll have like I'm weak and nerdy, like that kind of direction. Yeah. And it's like you can't take the character seriously then, but you still get the idea that this is a guy who still believes in what he believes in, but he's just really tired. Yeah. And I just think there's little things like that they've done with this dub to give you like the long answer of what you were asking there that really makes this like a generational dub. Like people are going to look back, and if people who appreciated dubbing, and they're just going to think about how great this was.
Like Yu Yu Hakusho.
that, and then like even
Or
to
even
use
Dragon
another.
Ball.
Yeah, I was gonna say like another
Yeah.
Chris Sabat example is like Dragon Ball Z. He voiced, like I said, Vegeta and Piccolo. That's two of like the 4 or 5 main characters.
Yeah,
Prominent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
absolutely.
I feel that with Dragon Ball and like with Dragon Ball Super came out, I was like, okay, I can't touch this until it's released as a dub. I physically can't touch it because it's just something that is connected to me as a child. Like I need to hear it the way that I'm accustomed to hearing it. So I'm never gonna watch the sub, especially since I'm not a fan of the voice actress for Goku. Like it's just like I can't do it. So
Right.
yeah, like that's kind of where I am with that. Another thing too is like, do you think that it's also like dubs being getting more I want to say quality and making better choices in who they pick? Is it also due to the new Funimation Crunchyroll thing where like Funimation is doing literally just dubs and then Crunchyroll is doing literally just subs? Like, do you think that maybe that is helping them put more focus into it, or?
Well, it's a different approach. I think there's a lot. They put a bigger focus into making sure that the dubs are coming out sooner. I had just mentioned Sentai. They're hit or miss sometimes with their dubs, but one of the things I never really liked about a Sentai dub is you never see it airing at the same time. It's always going to be when it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray. So it's like they just record all of it and then they just give it to y'all up front. And what they've been doing, again, just since we're using this as our example, like My Hero Academia, it might be an episode or 2 behind, but they're doing a really good job of staying updated with the dubs. And I don't think it's so much as part of like the partnership of Funimation crossing over with Crunchyroll, but I think it does help get that kind of attention going towards it that maybe otherwise people weren't really paying attention to the.
Yeah.
But one of the big things I will say, it's amazing how far the dubbing process has gone since even just like the mid 2000s. It was a lot harder to make a successful dub before, and it almost had nothing to do with the talent as much as it was just the means of how they had to do, like ADR, that kind of stuff. A lot of the same talent has been around since the 90s. Like, it's like Lauren brought up with like Yu Yu Hakusho, all these shows that she grew up on. A lot of these voice actors and voice actresses, they were in those things. It's just now they have an even easier way to get the full range of what they're trying to go for.
Yeah.
Absolutely agreed, yeah.
Yeah. All the resources are there now. They just gotta step up and pick,
it's the
they
future,
get picked for their roles now. Yeah. There was something else I had to say. It's like definitely gone. I can't remember what it was.
No, it's okay.
It was it had something to do with the dubbing and stuff, but I can't really think of it, but it's totally fine. So, now
apologies viewers, Kenny is drunk.
No. So
you're drunk.
I threw a bunch of questions at Dale, but it was mostly because we kind of wanted to give everyone like the get his perspective of everything and kind of understand like who he is, like what he's into and his idea of dubs and like what he likes. But we're here to talk about anime rating, as we mentioned before, and I kind of wanted to ask a question for all of us, like what started us to write about or for anime. Like, was there something that you just felt you needed to like you felt really passionate that you had to write about it? Like, was it Tumblr? Like, you just kind of wanted to like put something there and like find, like, for me personally, I wanted to voice my opinions about said anime, but I just didn't have the ability to do so because I didn't really have a lot of friends that were into it at the time. I didn't really have the same kind of audience that you have now on the internet. So, what do you guys think? And you guys can pick whoever wants to start first. There are 4 people in here, so do you? All right, I'll pick Lauren. Boom.
Are you just doing it because I'm making a sour face the whole time?
Yes, absolutely.
Man, I did not. So, the whole reason I got into anime writing is I went to the Crunchyroll. He's currently the Crunchyroll's features editor, but he used to be like in charge of the newsletter for Crunchyroll. I went to his New Year's Eve party and stayed the night, and then next day we were talking about how I used to run a fashion blog, and him and Nate Ming and Peter Fabian were like, "You used to blog? We need writers for the Crunchyroll newsletter." And I sent them like I wrote like a piece about how much I love Sword Art Online, even though everyone trashes it. And then they were like, "Yeah, cool. All right." And so I go into this and it's like falling apart and
Aw.
it's not really working.
Whoa.
Aw.
And when it ended, like I maybe got like two. I never got any of the big things that I wrote published. I got two like small things, something about Space Patrol Luluco and something
Great
about
show.
Erase. Yeah. I had those published and it sucks. I was actually supposed to be writing. Well, I won't talk about that, but I'll just
Oh, man.
say that that's how I started. And then I was so sad when it fell apart that I started writing first episode reviews about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to cover every episode of last season, but after like 7, I was burnt out. So I
Yeah.
kind of stopped writing about it, but I want to get back into it. I think once I move, I'll pick up writing something because you guys are making me feel inspired.
Yeah, especially
Aw.
we had that one talk last week, so whenever you want to write for our blog, please feel free to. Featured
Absolutely.
writers
Just
are always welcome. Dill as well.
yes.
If you ever want to throw your 2 cents in on some topic that you don't feel like putting on AniTAY or whatever.
AniTAY, yep.
Do you, fam?
That sweet collab.
Yeah, collabs all around, dude.
Again,
AniTAY. I
our
really want to
editing
look into
process is
AniTAY
very
a little
lim-
more. It seems really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great community. Very tight knit, that's for sure. But if somebody else, like, I don't want to like just jump into my thing. If anybody
No,
else
go
wants
for
to
it.
talk
Go
about
for it.
Go ahead.
So I kind of like I was in like a writing club like back in grade school and middle school, and I kind of just stopped writing for a little while. Injuries here and there. I had like a hand injury that kind of stopped me from writing. And I didn't just think the logical thing would just be the type. But anyways, I recently was kind of in between jobs and trying to get the hang of a new job I had, and was kind of looking for something to do. I was really into Pokemon at the time, and I started writing for Destructoid. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Destructoid, but very. It was an odd site, that's for sure. Like the community blogs, you had like it was very top heavy. Like the people who the site's editors liked, they were kind of power hungry,
Oh, yeah.
and all of their features would get shared even though they were just utter garbage. And
Sounds familiar.
and it actually, my younger cousin and I, we were both writing like Nintendo themed blogs, and like mine was Pokemon focused, and we were just like editing one another's posts and just having fun with it. And then one of my posts actually got shared, like it actually got featured on the main Destructoid page. And then like I was just like, oh, I might actually have a thing here. And
Aww.
from there, I like, it was an old Twitter account and everything I had. Somebody asked me if I liked anime, and I kind of like grew up on anime, but I definitely was never like super into it. And then I got hooked. Like I absolutely loved it. There was so much to watch, so much to talk about, so much to write about. And I just kind of started following all the different anime outlets, like I followed AniTAY thinking it was Kotaku for the longest time. Like all like to this day, all my friends from AniTAY think it's hysterical that I thought that like, AniTAY was front page Kotaku. And I do that, and then I would read over like Anime News Network, Crunchyroll's. Like, it's funny, Lauren says that, like, I'd read like the Crunchyroll newsletter, that kind of stuff. Sorry. Yeah. And I just started to like just think like, okay, I was home on like summer vacation one time, like I think it was probably around July, August last year, and I really liked Monogatari, and I wanted to write about it. So I wrote this. I couldn't have been more than a week. I wrote this article. I went to push it out, and it got featured on AniTAY. And then like within 2 articles, they wanted me to have authorship on there.
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
It's been
Sick.
It's been a wild ride since then. Like, just the last couple months, I've been kind of breaking through. Like, you guys, for example, I've been actually starting to meet and speak with other anime writers from different platforms, and it's really great because I think it's so unique that like anime is a very different kind of thing to talk about and write about because it like everyone has a different like impression on it. It's everybody kind of says it, and some people have weird arguments for it, but like it really is art. Like everyone sees it differently. So it's really cool to hear people's different stories, how things like how anime might affect them in a different way from somebody else. And I really like to get the pulse of everybody from their writing and that kind of stuff. It's super fascinating to me, and that's kind of what's kept me in with anime writing.
Yeah. And you still like write for video games too, or?
Not so much. I know I was saying that like the kind of like I guess the parent site to the AniTAY would be Talk Amongst Yourselves. I've dabbled into video game writing, but it doesn't interest me as much, and it's definitely like not something that it's like I can't do, but I definitely I feel more comfortable with the anime thing.
Yeah,
that's
same.
for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely like a whole nother realm in my opinion. Same goes for like just the communities itself. I think that anime and video games are just completely different, and that's me personally. And I feel like I'm amongst both. Like I work for Crunchyroll here and there. I work for Square Enix here and there. Like I see both sides, and yeah, anime definitely tops like 100% in my opinion. But teaches on.
It's kind of not fair to video games in some sense, just because of how much more broad of a like fan base that could be. Because it's like compared to anime, you know who's good, you know who's bad, and you can tell pretty quickly. Like as far as like who's going to be just like a problematic commenter, or like who's got the opinions that you might not always agree with, so you might just be able to zone out of. Like I hate to be rude about it like that, but with gaming, you never know.
Yeah.
Like somebody
diamond
might,
in the rough.
Right, like gaming, somebody might love Final Fantasy and hate everything else, and then like the second that you said Square Enix, that's just immediately what I gravitated towards. Somebody might just love Final Fantasy, and then the second you want to go, since I mentioned Pokemon, you want to go talk about Pokemon, like, oh, Pokemon's just a ripoff of this and that, and like,
savage.
Yeah, you're just like, okay. As compared to like, there's a trend with anime. It's like, I don't like this kind of anime. Don't talk about it. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I won't talk about that kind of anime to you then. Like, it's easier solved.
That makes so much sense too, because when you think about like the anime community and how they relate to Persona, Nier, and like Final Fantasy 15 and like all these different series, like they're in a different like path of gaming, and it's their own separate path. And if you don't walk that same path and you decide, oh yeah, I want to go and try talking about Gears of War today, you're like, everyone's just gonna shit on you because that's not your style. Like, this is completely different, and they're not like open to that opinion, but teach his own, I guess. And
right.
Do you have any more to say before I pass over to Nick, because he looks so sad?
No, I'm not sad.
He looks like he wants to talk.
I didn't mean to hog the ball there.
No, you're fine.
No, you're fine. I agree with you absolutely, because I've said it numerous times, and this is a brief section. I've said it numerous times already. I am shocked and amazed at how absolutely positive and amazing anime fandoms and like anime communities are, especially like blogging. You go to a video game forum, like you said, you will get flamed. That no problem. There's always going to be that one guy you will find who is just going to make this 15 paragraph tirade about why you're wrong and your ancestors should be ashamed that you exist as a human.
Holy shit.
Anime, people will say, I disagree, that's garbage, and then that's it. No salt, no aggravation,
No pepper.
no problem, unless it's a big order, in which case it is garbage, and I will give you 15 paragraphs about it. But I agree with you, Dill, completely about that. Video games as a community and just a subculture of where we are today is completely radically different from anime subculture.
Word.
And I think part of it too, not to keep beating on the same topic, but like, definitely gaming is a little bit more mainstreamed. And you know, we could talk for hours about how like people think that anime may or may not be closer or not or far away from that, especially over here in the States. But again, like I said, that's a different can of worms. But it's just, I think it's easier for people to tap into that because you have your people who play Final Fantasy and Gears of War at the same time. Like if I were to talk to somebody about Final Fantasy, like just picking somebody out of the street, that you know there might be a good like not random people, but you know what I mean. Like somebody at like a GameStop, they might have played Final Fantasy, but the second I want to go and try to ask them, just like immediately pivot and be like, "Hey, so how do you feel about Fully Cooley?" It's not going to happen, you know.
Oh yeah.
But compared to like if I'm talking to Lauren about Fully Cooley, and then I'm like, "Hey, did you play Final Fantasy?" There's probably a higher probability that the answer is going to be yeah. You know,
Yeah.
I think it works one way, but not the other.
Yep, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see where, like, the idea that anime is becoming mainstream, and like the idea that there are so many different series that I never thought I'd just be able to walk around with like a My Hero shirt and people would just like be like, "Oh, I love that show." You know, like, I feel like it's just a strange feeling to me because I'm not used to it. Like if I was wearing like an Attack on Titan shirt or like Sword Art or something like that, like yeah, I could see that being picked up really quickly. But it's like for me to walk around with a My Hero shirt and like a lot of people say something about it, I'm like, we made it.
Yeah.
We made it,
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah.
Because like right now, the only thing you get is like you get those kind of like no offense to anybody who wears it. I hope I'm not offending anybody when I say this, but like some dudes who kind of look like tool bags who are wearing like the Train Insane shirt, like they got like the the Dragon Ball Z pun shirt, like when they're in the gym,
Yeah.
because they vaguely remember Dragon Ball Z, like they might hate it, like oh. To quote somebody who I worked with before, he goes, "That's a nerd show." I'm like, but why do you have a shirt then? You know, like, it's funny you say that about the My Hero Academia shirt because I remember it just made my day. Like one random Saturday, I went to see a movie at an AMC theater, and Funimation had the ad for like the Simon dub, right? And they're like now streaming, and this little boy just loses his mind, like screaming at his parents because he recognized All Might, and it's kind of like it's funny because you know like given like the character of like you know the main character.
Is he like rocking back and forth?
Yeah.
Just like all
Yeah. And it's
serious
like he fits the exact character in the show.
That's so cute.
Like, that's exactly what I imagined, just like in the movie theaters, kid rocking back and forth, like losing his shit.
Yeah.
And I had not seen the show yet, and then I started watching the show, and I'm like, this is so awesome because that kid was just like how the character was when he was a kid when he saw All Might, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like it works full circle, you know, and you know, it was you mentioned earlier about how like Funimation getting the funding, wow, Funimation having like the outreach now with how popular things have gotten about how they can kind of push more things locally at your like AMC theater or you see these limited releases like how they really pushed out for Your Name to get everybody to go see that.
Yeah.
You got I'm not sure if it's I didn't get to see who's actually pushing this one out, but you know, you have movies like A Silent Voice and that kind of stuff coming out. All these different big names, it's becoming more and more common as compared to like, you know, once in a rare blue moon, we're going to get a Pokemon movie or a or a
Yeah.
or a really really crappy Yu-Gi-Oh movie in theaters.
Hey
you know?
now.
Well, the
Hey
original,
now.
the
Yo,
original.
yo, chill. It's his move.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was really bad. Yeah, like that totally makes sense. Like the only other so you had The Boy and the Beast that came out like what, a year or two ago, maybe 2015 actually, and like I feel like when that one came out, I didn't expect there to be a lot of people watching it, but it actually grossed a lot of money, and it's like not at all like something that was supposed to be a mainstream movie. It was like, oh cool, it's coming to select theaters. No, this thing actually almost became like the next big movie until like Your Name and shit came out, and Sword Art, yeah, Ordinal Scale came out too. So it's like it's. I even wrote an article about it. I had to like link it in here, but it's like
Did you write it or did I write it?
I wrote an article about theatrical releases for anime.
And I think I did Ordinal Scale then.
Yeah, you probably did Ordinal Scale, but I did one like specifically on how great it is that we have all of these theatrical releases for anime now, and like I even explained how like my feeling was when I first walked into the theater for Ordinal Scale and seen all these people. Like it was full theater, and like I live in a really small state where it's not a lot of I wouldn't expect to see a big following for anime where I live, but somehow filled a whole theater, like the biggest theater in the house.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, it's just really big to see all that, and it's super rewarding, as a fan, and being a fan for so many years. So I just really appreciate where we are with it now.
That's great. That's like, it's cool too. Like you say that, like it doesn't matter where you are, they're getting these movies out everywhere, and with streaming and everything, it doesn't even have to be in a theater anymore. Like if it's on Netflix, people can just binge it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The future. We are here.
We are here.
God bless it.
We made it, guys.
Sure.
We fucking made it. So
Absolutely right.
now, for all of us that do write, I know we all have like really different styles of writing, and one of Dill's recent articles is like massive. It's fucking massive. It's huge, and I can't imagine how much time you put into it. But I kind of want to know how much effort do you think you put into that? Like how much research? Because I feel like it wasn't something you just kind of like came up back of your head. Like you definitely had to get a lot of different details.
I've had it on the stove since I had a previous basketball article, and I think most of you in this room probably know my writing from when that one got shared. Not to backpedal onto it, but I was just, like sitting in the car kind of thinking of ideas, like, you're in traffic and you're like, hey, I wonder how a basketball team made of anime characters would be, and not including like just ones that were specifically in anime, again, basketball anime, You start with goofy ideas like that, you start spitballing them. I know the cliche term is writing on cocktail napkins, but in 21st century, you're just writing a note in your on your phone. Like, you're waiting for food to come out at like an Applebee's, and you're just like, I'm gonna write down my team right here. And that's exactly how I did that article. I shared it, and then I left it alone. I didn't think anything would come of it. Somebody shares it on Reddit. Only article I've ever written that got shared onto Reddit for anime. Somebody sees that, shares it on the NBA Reddit, and then like suddenly I'm like on two fan bases, and that's how I kind of like that article blew up. And I didn't even like think about that. But then like after it did that, I'm like, I'm so appreciative of what everybody did as far as supporting this, that I actually want to. I wanted to put a full support, put my full thoughts into something. And I happen to be a nerd for both anime and NBA, so kind of the same approach though.
Two birds,
like
one stone.
Right, and I had the same approach though. Like, just not something that I was like burning myself out about, but I just kind of started thinking to myself, hey, if X player from Kuroko played in the NBA, what position would they play? Who would they play for? Even goofy things like where would they go to college? Like just things that like I definitely couldn't like just randomly ask someone. Like I had to pose it a certain way. Like I was asking friends that knew basketball. I'm like, hey, if a player was this height, where do you think he'd fit in? Like, had to like really get creative with it. And then like, cause like, I completely lost everybody in the middle of the writing process. I tweeted out randomly about one of the players in Kuroko and about what position he played. And I just followed up with a reply. I'm like, I realize I just collectively lost everybody who follows me. Like, cause it's like people are so far on one end or the other. But as far as the actual writing process, it only took about a week.
Oh.
That's crazy.
About an hour a night. And then a lot of time on the weekend. Like I'd say about 5 or 6 hours on the weekend.
Wow.
It's my longest article, and I kind of hate the fact that it's so long because I try to keep things to be about like 500, 600 words, 4 or 5 paragraphs.
Wow.
I have journalists in my family, so the inner editor in me wants to scream when I make an article too long.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, if you look at it, like it's kind of broken down into like little mini subsections, and those ones are generally short. So it's like it flows. And if you like, my number one rule is I have to write something. I have to make sure it flows, because if you don't have flow to what you're writing, I feel like you don't have a voice. If you don't have a good voice for it, it's going to be hard to push what you're trying to write about.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, it was a passion project. So I just fired off the hip with it. I had fun with it. I didn't really start worrying about like how it looked all together until the end. And I just had like, as my buddy Fed was working on the thumbnail for it, which is fantastic, by the way. I'm so happy with it. I just had another one of my friends be like, hey, can you just look this over real fast? I typically don't, like, I mean, not to sound lazy, I typically don't have people look over my stuff. I just kind of edit it as I go.
Yeah.
But, because again, it's usually shorter and I kind of see everything at once, but I wanted to really make sure this was good to go. I wanted to make something special for all the people who really liked that last big basketball anime article I did.
Knowing that there's like this kind of following there, you want to make sure that you reward them for sticking around.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I definitely like, it's been my most shared tweet I've had as far as like just the article. Last time I checked, I had around like 18 or 19 likes and about 7 or 8 retweets. And for somebody who has like, I don't know, like last time I checked, I had like 58 or 59 followers, and maybe about half of those being like a combination of my family, friends, and like other like writing people I know. That's huge. You know, that means like a lot of people, or I've seen people that I've like never recognized before actually like liking it, and I'm just like, that's great, because that shows up on somebody's timeline, and the fact that people took the time to do that, it's not falling on deaf ears. That's for sure.
Especially when you have a massive article like that. Like, if somebody like is actually reading it and they comment on it like after and like talk about how much it's great, that is definitely rewarding to you. Like, you can walk away and just be like, oh man, like they appreciate my shit.
And I think it's just as important though that like when you take that approach to it, you don't want to have like, I want to write this article and make X amount of views, or
you have to enjoy it.
Yeah, if you're not enjoying it, there's no real point in doing it, because for a lot of our newer writers starting off who want advice from me, the one thing I'll tell them is don't complicate. Like, you know, we have to be realistic about it. Anime writing, it's you know, we're a very niche community. You know, it's not going to be hundreds of thousands of reads in 1 week. You know, like, write because you like what you're doing, and the rest will come.
Yeah, definitely.
Aww.
Absolutely agree.
I think for like me and Nick, when we write for Black and Yellow Otaku Gamers, like, I feel like we just like the feeling I get from our writing is like we're talking to the reader. Like, you know, it's really good flow, and that's like kind of what I always try to lay down. Like, I want the person to feel like I'm physically talking to you, and that's like the kind of style I've always liked out of a lot of the anime YouTubers. Like, I like the whole, you know, you just kind of explaining your opinion about things, and I'm just like soaking it all in like a sponge, and then I can make my own informed opinion on it. So that's the kind of stuff I do like, and when I see other stuff like that online elsewhere, I really appreciate stuff like that.
So. Sure.
But I also like a different spin on it, like what you did, you know, versus
Mm-hmm.
it being just like a regular review. You have like this whole approach where imagine this scenario and all these different players, what team would they go? Like that's super cool. Imagine like someone did something like that with like anime girls and Keijo, like build your number one anime Keijo girls.
Damn.
Like what would you do? I don't know.
Who's got the fattest ass in anime?
That's what I'm thinking. That's actually
Okay,
Who's like the
so-
anime?
What's her
Who's a
face?
thick bitch?
Dude, you get Mountain. What's her name?
My
From
lady.
Hero.
Not Lady.
Yeah, Mount
Yeah.
Lady.
Yeah.
Everything comes
Not
back
Lady.
to My Hero Academia here.
Hell yeah.
So
Mount
My Hero
Lady.
podcast, we did it.
There we go.
Yeah.
The Almighty podcast.
Yes.
I kind of have a question for you guys.
Oh man.
Okay.
Go for it.
As fellow
Shit.
writers,
Mhm.
I remember when I was writing, I rarely did multiple drafts. But whenever I would have Evan Minto, who does the AniGamer stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would have him read my articles and see like, hey, what do you think of this? And he was like, oh, you should rewrite it again. And I'm like, it's so out of my like I'll
It's out of
edit
your
some
element.
things. Yeah, but I don't completely rewrite them. So do you guys do a lot of drafts? Do you completely rewrite things, or is basically what you write is that your final draft?
So me personally, I don't I do like if I feel like I'm unsure about something, I'll like throw it to an editor like, hey, you know, or Nick, I'll say, hey, can you look at this and see how the flow sounds, like am I making any mistakes? And like I kinda ask to be brutal, like, I just kinda wanna know like what the hell I'm doing wrong. And then when I have it, I just kind of make sure that it all sounds right and what I'm trying to get through makes sense. And like I don't do a lot of prep like other people do, I think. That's like a difference between me and other people. Like I see people like Dill, you know, spend a whole week on this article, even though it's a long article, so like a week's pretty understandable. But like I probably only like write the article in like a day or two, or like maybe 3 days. As much as I want to do more, I want to actually prep it. I just feel like I procrastinate way too much, and like I'll end up like the day before I'm like, oh yeah, I need to put this out, but then I would end up losing like some quality to it because I'm not putting my best efforts forward. So it's
Yeah.
kind of tough for me. I'm trying to fix that, but you know, busy life and all that good
Right.
shit.
I can completely agree with what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not feeling it during a day, you definitely don't want to try to write. Like, it's
Yeah.
just, you know, I get like an hour or 2 hours a night at most to write. And if I'm not feeling it that day, maybe work was too long, I won't even touch it. You know, I'm just like, I'm going to walk away from this, come back to it. To answer the original question, I definitely don't do much outside of pre-write. And most of my pre-writing is kind of like what I was saying, like kind of in the car thinking about things, or, you know, you have an idea when you approach it. Like I might write down a title on a draft and then come back to it like 3 weeks from then, until like I'll wait till I'm ready where I kind of feel like I know what my working thesis is. And you know, some articles, I mentioned the dubs with Dill, you know, creative articles like the one I just did, those ones might take some more time, but like what I said, I like to keep things short, like 500 words. You can do that in one sitting. And if you already, I feel like sometimes some people like try to fight their way through what they're writing. Like they're like, I think I know what I want to write about. I'm just going to start throwing like everything against the wall. That you do that in the pre-writing stage, or some people need rough drafts to do that. Like your final draft should not be like 8 pages of just ideas. It should just be your main ideas, claims and warrants, and just kind of go through that. Not to make it sound like it's a book report or something, but you know, some people, they can make that flow easier. Some people actually need to do drafts. If you're not doing it for like a school project, which by all means, anime writing is not a school project.
I've written a lot of articles about anime. I'll tell you.
Did you really?
Yeah, I wrote an entire article on Light Yagami and for my psychology class and how he was a perfect narcissist.
You're not wrong.
I got it.
So I need. Oh my god, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, like, you know, if it's not the Light Yagami ultimate thesis paper, sorry, I wasn't expecting like somebody to say they actually did do a school project for it, but you know, if you're just writing it for fun and that kind of stuff, you definitely just want to take however you need to get the approach to be there and to write it in your best way. Some people want to have 14 sets of eyes on it before they're good. Some people, like myself, just like want to just fire off the hip with it, you know?
Because then you have no regrets. Like, it's
right.
It is what it is, and that's what you want it to be.
I'll walk that back a little bit. I'm sorry. Like, unless it's a big article like the one I just wrote, I'm sorry. I didn't want to sound like I was being a hypocrite, but like if it's like if it's like a 500-word article, I already know what I'm going to write. I don't need somebody else to look at it. I just kind of fire with it.
Yeah, definitely. And like
that's pretty much how I am too.
Yeah.
I feel bad because I don't think I've ever submitted anything to our editor, and I know I feel bad that I don't, because the thing is, I can force myself.
I have him vet you out, so it's fine.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I always ask, like, did he see anything? And normally it's positive.
Oh no, he edits your whole shit without telling you.
Yeah, there you go.
Savage.
No. Dave's an amazing, and he's really good.
You cut out when you said something.
Oh, Dave is an amazing guy.
Okay, just want to make sure you heard that.
I've seen the stuff that he's done and edited up, and I've never had any complaints. I've never said, why did he do that, or that's stupid. I've always agreed with everything he does, that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
And even when like you or Mark or Loha, actually I don't think Loha's ever come to Mark, and you have every now and then come to me saying, Dave's busy, can you look at this? And I'll look it over. And I always I'm kind of like, okay, make sure Dave looks it over afterwards. I thought it was good, but I always feel more comfortable if he looks it over, because I feel he's a better editor than me. What do you mean?
Because mine are good. So you're like, hey, this is nice. Here you go.
No.
No flame at Mark. I love Mark. You enjoy your cruise, man. You enjoy your cruise.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, like Death Note, I wrote something. I started to write something for the movie, and then I keep stopping myself because I'm not sure if that's the correct way I want to go. I feel like there are so many different options I have here. Because of the platform I'm in, it's like I can A, write about it, 2, have like a full podcast about it, or just have like a full ranting conversation that's not podcast but just like its own video. And I really like the latter, like a lot, because I feel like I could talk about that shit for a long time. And it's not like to say that the Death Note movie was like really bad, but it's just the idea that Hollywood just took all of the good things about it, put it in a box and said fuck that. And they don't really take into consideration what makes Death Note good, what makes Light an interesting character, what makes L and Light's relationship interesting, why Misa's even a thing. Like, they just completely threw everything out the window. So it's
why
just
is she even a thing?
Yeah, because, like, you know, she's pretty much a tool for Light. You know, like, the idea that she has the Shinigami eyes and Rem and everything. And he uses her with the other girl that he also was messing with too. So it's like there's so much more to the story that they just don't bother with, and they make, I think it's Mia in the movie. Is it Mia? I don't remember.
It's Mia. It's interesting because I thought back on that. They took a lot of the characteristics from Misa and they kind of worked it into Light's character. If you look at it, like you know his I'm not trying to give them any credit with this. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying like you know his reason for wanting to just outright I mean like where you would just call like Light a narcissist before this Light Turner, which what a great last name, right?
I didn't watch it.
Me either.
You bless souls.
I couldn't.
His whole thing is like his mom got killed by a criminal, and like you know you remember that's what Misa's whole thing was, like she loved Kira because you know Kira killed the person who ended up killing her parents. And it's kind of funny because like the dad's still there, but he's not. He doesn't look like the fat, hardworking cop dad with the mustache. It's just kind of like actor dad from he's an extra in an episode of ER. Like,
It's
just like
That's an odd specification, but okay.
Well, but it's actually valid, like extremely.
Really?
Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
he doesn't look like he belongs in head of like a detective. Like he doesn't look like he looks like he just rolled out of like some like Ferrari. He didn't actually like.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
He
That's
doesn't look like
awful.
he's been chain smoking and trying to figure out who the serial killer is.
Yeah, and they completely throw out the idea that like Light is intelligent. Like I feel like they tried to push it with him like being this person that's doing homework for everyone, but that's not enough. Like he was solving crimes for the cops in the anime. Like that's literally his thing. He was like super intelligent, and they just make him seem so stupid. His relationship with Ryuk is like completely broken versus like what it is in
Oh.
the anime. Like the anime, like there's like this kind of respect going on. Like Ryuk, he respects Light. He thinks he's interesting. All the things he does, and he's just waiting for that moment where he gets to write Light's name in the book.
Mhm.
And what makes it more interesting is the fact that L is so on top of him, and like the cat and mouse chase that it is. But that doesn't happen at all in the Death Note movie. They're just like, all right, so we're gonna make this guy who, like this other L, see what people think about him. Everyone's like, oh, L's a good actor. Like this guy's cool. And then the fucking plot and like story just ruins him because he as an actor is fine. It's everything that happens after.
You know what I
could
kind of
agree with
like?
that.
I was rooting for like just you were saying about how good the actor was. Like
So
Lake
much potential.
Lake Stanfield. Like if anybody wants to know who he was in, like he was the character Andre in Get Out. He was the guy who was originally taken in the very beginning. I'm just saying that just in case anybody. I feel like a lot of people have seen Get Out. That was a good movie this year.
Yes.
Anyways, great actor. He's in the show Atlanta, but you can kind of see like you could tell what like throughout the entire process what the earlier shot scenes were, where he was like still trying to feel out what the character was like,
Yeah.
and then you could tell which scenes he was just kind of taking his own creative liberties. And I think where they were trying to like when he was trying to emulate the character of L, it almost like it just didn't feel like he was trying too hard, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like they might have been forcing him. Like they're like, here, sit in the chair this way, sound this way, enunciate everything you're saying like this. And you could tell he wasn't too comfortable doing that. Like they have him wear like this weird, like super long turtleneck sweater that makes him look like a Mortal Kombat character. Yeah, like it's covering up like half his mouth, like as if that's L's thing, like which it's not.
Yeah.
But towards the end, like parkour chases and stuff,
Yeah,
everyone
like,
got
what the
mad
hell?
because it was like nothing like the movie.
Yeah.
But in its own way, he kind of made it entertaining because it was just like he was like, I'm just gonna kind of do whatever I want now with this role, and nobody cares about this movie at this point anyway. So I'm just gonna show that I'm a great actor, and that it kind of
It's
like him. It like a combination of that and William Dafoe just being William Dafoe. It was just like, you know what? I can finish watching this.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest victory of the entire movie is that those two can get you to actually finish it.
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny how many memes I've seen where it's just like Spider-Man
Screaming.
and it's just
Oh.
like
Yeah.
him there, and then like goat screams from Light. Like those are the two most common ones. Is Willem Dafoe being like just being Green Goblin for whatever
Yeah.
reason as Ryuk,
Um,
and
Well, he's
that-
actually a big
that
fan
fucking
of the Death
screaming
Note
scene.
series too. That like I think that's like another big reason why they picked him. So I'm like, how can you come into this as like a big Death Note fan and then like watch it be butchered?
see this happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like he thought to himself like that's that. If I don't do this, they'll get someone who's gonna fuck it up
Yeah.
horribly.
To be honest, I can talk all day about this shit, but I won't. I'll like leave it alone for now. But you can see what I mean. Like this
Yeah.
conversation is gonna happen eventually. I just don't know
Yeah,
exactly
eventually.
the context. But
probably a one-on-one.
yeah, dude. Dill, you're invited as well because
Yeah.
me and you could probably go off this for a while.
I'd love.
I haven't watched it yet.
You
I gotta
gotta
watch it. I'll watch it beforehand.
All right, everyone, watch it, and we could actually have a
There we go.
Death Note thingy. I'm not gonna call it a podcast. I feel like it should be a standalone, like something.
Yeah,
like
it'll be a
just-
video.
Yeah.
A standalone complex about Death Note.
Mind blown.
I think it's like honest to goodness. If you're looking at it objectively as a movie, it teeters so far into that it's bad that it actually becomes good. Like
like The Room.
Like exactly like The Room, that kind of stuff. Like it's so bad it's good. I wouldn't be surprised 5-10 years from now everybody like just completely holds it up to that standard that it's like a cult following because how bad it is.
Yeah.
If Netflix doesn't already just like rip it off of their catalog because of it.
Who knows?
So with back to like the anime rating topic.
Sure.
Like with you guys, what kind of like piece do you enjoy writing the most? Like I feel like there's always the like the default like reviewing either like the first impressions of a series or like just a full-on review of a series or kind of something along the lines of Dill's done, something a little more creative. Like what kind of pieces really do you feel you're most passionate about? Or you can even talk about like articles you've already done that you feel like you were the most passionate about. I don't know why I say about like that, but
No, that's a really good question.
You don't want to end on a prepositional phrase.
Shut up.
No, that's something I try not to do when I write. Let's see.
You got me in a good spot here on that. So, I always find like whichever things I write that I'm like super into, like with the exception of something like this where you put in considerable research. It might I'm saying like something where I'm like, you know what, this is kind of a quick idea. I think this is going to work well. Typically, those won't be the successful ones, and just the way everything works is the one that I'm like, I'll just write this real fast and just kind of throw it out here this week and just see what people think about it. Mm-hmm. You don't pay attention to it. And then like halfway through the following week at work, your phone just like getting tons of notifications and you look down and it's like just blowing up. Like I wrote an article about Higurashi. I just wrote my gut feeling of how I felt about watching it. And I felt like it was like a really good horror anime and that kind of stuff. And I felt like that the genre was missing from anime. And just throw out honest thoughts about it. Didn't think anything else about it. And I came back and like for like my quick thought like kind of articles, it was one of my more successful ones. So it's like I think it's tough to say what the best kind of article to write is, like what I feel most passionate about, because I feel like if I'm not feeling it, I'm not going to write about it. That's what it comes down to. Everyone has a different reason for writing. Everybody has different things they need to write about. Some people actually have to, meet a quota. But if it's just for fun, it's kind of easy to just be like, I don't feel like writing an article this week. Yes, it's inconsistent. Some people might even say that it hurts your hashtag brand. But, I don't buy into that, especially when you're just trying to write for fun. Because I feel like you're ruining half the purpose of you writing for that kind of stuff if you're going to buy into such a notion. Like, I don't mean to sound pretentious, but,
No, definitely.
No, you're right.
Cool. Yeah, definitely makes sense. I just speak for me. With me personally, like, I think some of my favorite things I was able to write about were things I actually felt really strongly about, where, like, I guess Yuri on Anime Awards is probably one of my favorite articles I've written, only because it was just, like, I was so angry, and I just kind of had to,
Why?
I felt like a lot of the things that were voted didn't need to be voted. Like, there are certain things that Yuri on Ice shouldn't have been in, and it was in. And it was just really frustrating.
Like, nominated for?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Like, animation of the year.
Yeah, I totally get that one.
So, like,
there's a GIF Kenny included in his article about it, and it is probably something that a 7-year-old could have drawn on it.
Yeah.
Is it that blonde kid?
Yes.
Is it the blonde kid? Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's just a little frustrating because, like, I could see where they decided to dip and where they decided to, like, put all their efforts in. It's pretty much always the main character, which is totally fine, I understand. But it's just, like, it's the hype that Yuri on Ice was on that led it to get all these different
accolades.
Yeah, and like I kind of was accepting to the idea only because so many people are getting into anime because of the series that aren't already into it. So like I can appreciate that, but at the same time it really pissed me off. So that, and like I made an article for I think it was called Crunchyroll, Amazon, and its users, or something like that, or Crunchyroll Anime Strike and its users, and it's pretty much talking about like where Crunchyroll Anime Strike are in the community and like the differences between the two, and it's like I feel like Anime Strike just doesn't make the effort to get to that point. Like they don't try because of who they are as Amazon, you know. They don't need to, but it'd be nice if they were.
Yeah, and it's important to remember it's a very, very young service, and like that's everyone's first instinct is like that it's an inconvenience for them to get it right now.
Yeah.
And everyone's first instinct is to resist the change for it. I think we need to give them a little bit of time before we decide if they're just outright incompetent with it, but it definitely isn't promising, and I can completely get what you're saying. You kind of hit all the beats that I've been hearing about like a lot of topics that you just covered. Like people weren't very happy about the Yuri on Ice anime getting all the awards at Crunchyroll, but that was a community-based vote, and you definitely, with shows like that, people have their favorites, and
cough cough.
Yeah, definitely for different reasons, and because of that, it just comes with the territory. It usually works in a different way, but this was just one of those rare cases where people really liked the skating characters, so and their ships. So
yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah, Ed, but you're completely right. And if you feel like you were saying about like you like to write about that kind of stuff, you're feeling the pulse about what's going on. You think your opinion's right there. That's exactly what I think's a great approach to it. I don't mean to like sit here and like just reiterate what you were saying, but like that's the real, like I was just saying before, that's what I like to see in writing. That's exactly
Passion,
yeah. If you don't have passion for it, you're just trying to sit there and like hit marks on a box, then don't do it.
Yeah, and like that's kind of where it all is. Like if I can like something just strike me like in the back of the head really fucking hard, and like I fall to the floor and I'm like, oh, there it is. I know what I wanted to write about. Like I have something for like Deku, like pretty much supporting Deku as like best boy 2017. Like I truly feel that he's the only competitor. The only other one I could think of is I felt like Welcome to the Ballroom. I forget what his name is. Tatara. He's definitely one of those people that people are gonna like really like because he's a lot like Yuri to some degree. So I was just like, oh fuck, like this show better not fucking do that shit again. Like I'm not dealing with it. I'm not dealing with all of the award bullshit. But like,
there's so much animosity for Yuri on Ice right now, and I'm feeling so attacked right now because I love that show, but not for the reasons that you think I did.
What?
I mean,
what's the reason? What do you think the reason is?
Because I feel like I'm very much like Yuri, the main Yuri. I feel like he's a really, really good example. I hate it.
He's a good boy.
Having a psychology major, I've always just been very instinctually like, yeah, that person is messed up because of those reasons. But it's there's a big thing like don't like just diagnose people. But I feel like he's a really good representation for anxiety.
Yeah.
And
one of the best, probably, to be honest.
Yeah.
I agree.
So to see that and to see how many people loved him and to see how he kind of overcame his struggles was inspiring to me.
And nothing's wrong with that.
You
like,
empathize
with
people too much.
But
also, Victor's hot as fuck.
All right, there we go.
Daddy.
So like
my daddy.
you can have that opinion because that's totally fine. When something is like relating to you on a personal level, then like when you actually like it because of like that kind of reasoning, no one can fault you for it because that's how you feel. No one can tell you how you feel about something. So I don't know, like it's just the idea that people rode on the show being as good as it is, but then expanding on the series and making it sound like it's better than it is. Like you can't say that show has good animation. You really can't. Like, yes, you could say it has moments, but you can't say it has good animation. It's wrong.
It's got a couple budget shots.
When Mob Psycho and all these
Mob
other series
Psycho has
were
really
in the
good
same
animation.
running, so it's just really frustrating. But
I get your frustrations on that. I was there live at the things, and even I was just like, I can't believe fucking Yuri on Ice won Anime of the Year. Like, I didn't think it was that big. But after that, I realized, like, oh, it was big.
The following's huge. But yeah, so Nick and Lauren, you both answered the question. What kind of piece do you enjoy writing the most?
You can go first, Nick.
Okay.
In the nick of time.
Yeah. God damn those puns. Anyway,
I apologize.
I usually end up taking up that spot of we need to get regular content out. I'll put something out, and I usually try to make it something I can write fluently about, something that I actually enjoy, something that I like. It may not be the best article, but I usually choose something that I like. I can't do a salty, angry post, really. And even doing something about a post that I dislike and then I'm dropping, such as In Another World with my smartphone, that hurt to write because I'm like, listen, I'm dropping. It's just so boring and bland. And it's funny because I said that and I got a lot more comments and input on that post because people are like, actually, I thought it was good, or I couldn't stand Konosuba or ReZero, but I like these. And I'm like, you are absolutely okay with your opinion. If you can watch it,
that point.
Go for it. Yeah, if you can watch it, if you prefer that, go for it. And one of the people who posted about that very topic and that sentiment was someone who does a lot of anime articles that we collectively as BAYOG follow. And this person also has been posting up episode reviews, and I'm like, I'll read them and I'll comment. It's like, yeah, thank you. And honestly, you're kind of my litmus test. You're my canary in the coal mine because if you say, oh, you know what, this got good, I'll be like, okay, let me go back and watch them all. Otherwise, I'm not going to waste my time.
Yeah, because she does 100-word reviews.
Yes.
That's her thing.
Oh, cool.
She reviews an episode
100-word anime.
Yeah.
Who is she?
Her Twitter is
Karandi James.
Yeah.
Right on.
I think she's Zeke from New Zealand.
Yeah. So, that's always interesting, and I feel that with something like that, like I actually wanted to ask all of you how you felt about episode reviews. Do you think that that's a good way to go? Because I personally don't like it, and I'm not sure if it's like, I don't hate people that do it, and I don't think it's like a bad way or approach, but I don't personally like writing them. I don't think, unless we're talking about like an episode that I physically got like super emotional about or like super passionate about, I will write about it, like the Todoroki versus like Deku fight, or like Uraka and Bakugo, things like that. Like I want to write about, but it's like I can't weekly write about a series. It's just not me. I don't know, teach his own, I guess.
Because with BAYOG, we usually aim for somewhere between 600's a short article for us, but we usually aim for 700 to 800 words, so usually under 900. That's kind of the sweet spot we usually hit and we aim for. So doing 100 words like she does, it works for that episode, and then she'll usually expand on it afterwards, after the synopsis. But at most we ever do is we'll do a first episode, our first impressions,
which is 3 episodes, like 3 episode tests.
Yeah, or a 3 episode test. Sometimes I'll do one first episode and 3 episode. I hate this. It's not my mic. It's got to be my computer, my audio, but I'll do sometimes a first impressions on the very first episode, a 3 episode test, mid-season, and final, and no more than 4. I can't imagine writing 12 articles on a show. I just wouldn't have enough content. I just wouldn't. Maybe like 18IF or 18IF, because it's literally a different show every episode. But that's definitely not the norm. That is definitely not a stereotypical case.
Yeah. So, What about you guys, Lauren and Dill? I could ask a question if you need me to. Again.
Oh no. For me, shit, I'm still trying to find out what I like to write about because all I've done are reviews because that's all I've really known.
Yeah.
But straight episode reviews, ooh, it depends on the show and it depends on the format and it depends on the person making the reviews.
Yeah.
Because I feel like reading them would be a pain in the ass, but maybe listening to them, like if it were a podcast or like a video, it would be cool to listen to, but I wouldn't want to read about a fucking episode when I can go watch it.
That's actually another good point. When you have something like 100 episodes for review, that's really good because it's that condensed. You can literally, without even scrolling up on your phone, on your computer, you can read all of that and be done. You know exactly what it is. But there's also the idea that, do I want to waste 5 minutes of my life to read this when I could enjoy it to its fullest by adding it another 20 minutes to it, or a little less than that. So
especially if it's
everyone
yeah,
has different opinions on it. What's up?
Mm-hmm. No, I was just gonna say especially if it's a short like Aho Girl or Suru.
Oh yeah.
That fits really well with that format, definitely.
Yeah, it's you can definitely make it work because it's this is the blurb and then that's it, and you're fine and dandy, and it's funny.
Definitely dandy.
Yeah.
Sometimes fine.
Yeah.
Dill.
Yep. So it's funny because sometimes that was a great point to start off of there, like you're saying about some things work better than others. I wrote about March Comes in Like a Lion. I had to cover that week to week. It kind of felt like my own personal prison. I love the show, but it was such a slow show that I was just sometimes just staring at a screen and just figure out what I can write. Well, in today's episode, he felt really sad, and that was it.
He's still sad.
It's it's great. It's something you have to watch. Like you were saying, you're better off just watching it. But some things are there for the discussion.
Yeah.
Sometimes some people will just put out the episode here's an episode, this happened, and everyone will just join in and comment on it. Problem is, if you don't have a lot of people following it, it does just become, I'm just droning on with a Wikipedia-esque article about what happened this episode.
Yeah.
But you mentioned fights, or maybe I wrote recently for the second season of Owari Monogatari. I broke it down by arc. Some shows work 3-4 episodes as an arc. Grouping things together, having your impressions on there. I think that's a great way to start with talking points for people to, say I really like this here, I really didn't like this. I agree with your points here, I didn't agree with your points there. Now, if I'm just droning on, I feel like here at this point, okay, let's move on to the next point here, and then here, it feels like it's if you ever heard the expression "death by PowerPoint," I feel like you're just having just like a death by every detail of an anime episode. It's already hard enough that some things are better off being seen. It definitely depends on who's putting it across about how they can make it sound. Yeah. If you don't have that voice for it, and even people who are good at putting in voices for things, if there's nothing to write about, you're just going to drone on about it.
Yeah. Another thing I think would be cool if you were to do something like that, to do something out of the box. I was kind of brainstorming while we were talking. If I were to do it, I would do something like every episode's color palette and how it reflected with the theme of the episode. Because I'm really into color theory and all that.
Sure.
So you could do it and make it interesting. It's just the person doing it has to be smart enough to figure that out.
Yeah, that's a tough subject matter, but it's really interesting if you actually can pull it together.
Right. And I think definitely it goes, pulling it off is the right way to word that there. You could be a subject matter expert on it, and you could write 5,000 words about it, and you'll lose somebody. However you get the point across, explain it
You just cut out.
Dill, you're like.
Damn.
Yeah, you were roboting
Gone,
and then
girl.
cut out.
All right, so I'm gonna talk for a bit while Dill is slowly returning back from the shadow realm.
Damn.
He's still here. He's lagging out, but
Yes.
he's still with us in the shadow
In
realm.
In
spirit.
spirit.
In the shadow realm. The spirit is a shadow realm, no? Is that not how that works?
Yes.
Am I wrong? Today I
No.
learned.
No, you're not wrong.
Okay, cool.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, like when you were talking about the color palette stuff, I really identify that with like a lot of different series that do have such a range of different colors. Like, you know, like a lot of series have like this standard color scheme, while others they do make all these changes to background. Like I feel like Shaft is really big on that. Like whether it's like Nisekoi or you know, Monogatari series and Kaku City Actors, like all of those different series are really good at that, and like
Chicago City Actors especially.
yeah, like because they're
Yeah.
creating tone out of it,
Fantastic.
you know. So it's definitely interesting. See, you need to do that. Create it. Like, you can do this on your own. Do it.
I feel
There you go.
like I'm not that great of a writer before, like I want to get to be that good before I start putting out stuff that I'm really passionate about, because I don't want to put something out passionate and it get dogged because it's not good writing.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
but
why
at the
I
same
love
time,
this blog.
Yeah. I feel like at the end of the day, if you don't try something and then like throw it against the wall and see what sticks, you're never actually gonna get anywhere with it. You know what I mean? Like,
Senpai.
Dill, are you back?
he's back.
I think so.
Okay, cool. So
Sorry, internet's spotty here.
no, it's all good.
Dang.
So I'm guessing, Dill, you can agree with this too. Like we're just talking about the whole color palette idea and how like Lauren's like, well, I don't know if it's actually gonna work. This, and that. And I'm like, dude, you just gotta do it. Throw it against the wall and see what sticks. You know?
Yes.
And always
Trial
throw
and
it
error.
throw it at your other senpais and see what's up.
Just make sure it's what I was gonna say is just like the big thing with it too. It's just, you know, it's cool if you're sounding intelligent, throwing out like something like color theory, but as long as you can get the point across to your readers, like if you could read it back and you could think like, if I knew nothing about, like, use that example, color theory, would the reader be able to understand this? Now, if your audience is just specifically people who appreciate color palette, you could definitely be more technical with it. But it's like you would never just throw out an acronym without saying what the acronym stands for, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's smart.
I feel like if anything, you should be like the gateway to color theory. You know, because I feel like a lot of people don't know about it at all. So if you
Like
can
an introduction, like
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
be like,
or even better is they're aware of the concept, but they don't know the technical terms or especially like they understand the theory, but then you enlighten them to, so you know what this is actually what it is and all the aspects to it.
right.
And that's something I know that I love reading through other bloggers is they'll go into something like that where it's like, holy shit, I knew about that show or that actor or that concept, and then they just explain it to me, and now I want to go all in on it.
Yeah, because that's kind of like what the whole blogger sphere for me is. Like, it feels like an anime where like this person, oh man, I want to get stronger, be as good as this person.
Yeah,
and then like
absolutely.
you also want to like pick things from the other person so you could be better. You know, like it's all about growing together, or like, you know, the rivalries, and it's really interesting because life is anime at the end of the day. So
we're all just trying to be superheroes. Get paid.
So to close this out, I'm gonna throw this question at all of us, and hopefully the people listening can take these answers and become awesome and make great things out of it, and just try. My question is, what kind of advice would you give to someone starting out? Somebody who, you know, they want to become a writer. They want to, you know, really put the passion to the paper and try and throw something out there. Like, what would you give them for advice? I know Dill's already kind of touched base on something he's already given to other writers, so if you want, you can start it out.
Yeah. So, especially with and I'm not trying to like stereotype or anything. A lot of people who are starting with anime writing, it might be their first time like writing something. They're typically younger people. I always find that to be the best time. Like, I guess this is the coach in me. Like, I coach basketball too, so like, you know, it's you're getting somebody when they're like brand new to something, just sparking their passion.
Oh God.
It's nice knowing you, Dale.
No!
No.
You had
No,
Oh.
you just cut out.
Dale.
Did I just cut out too?
Cut out too.
Alright.
Well,
So,
at least I'm still here.
do one of you
We'll
want to
come
start?
back to. Yeah. Lauren, do you want to go? I mean, okay. So, I honestly just keep at it. Like, no matter what happens, even this is a little counterintuitive in some people's eyes, but even if an article is garbage, I'll put it out there because then I can learn from it and say, all right, I put that out there. What succeeded, what didn't succeed. That's part of me professionally. I've been drilled in that you always put out work. You can always QA it, fix it, accept it later, but you put out the work, and then where you finish that sprint is exactly where you leave off, and you have that milestone. So even if it's bad, you can always track progress up or down.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest, most prideful moments I've ever had is I did an assignment, and oh wait, we're going to be posting this to public, so I'm not going to say my opinion on my group mates, but needless to say, and they all admitted, I carried the team. I did most of the work, and I found out that on academic papers, the top contributor is the first name, the first billet you put on a paper. And my grad school professor came back to us and said, "Hey, I liked your paper. Would you mind like if I'll do some editing and publish it?" So getting published in academia is like probably one of the coolest things ever. Like I had this professor who's like a PhD and everything, like a doctor, say, "Hey, I liked what you did. I want to put my name on it too and put it out there to the world." I was just like, I'm a real person. Like I'm a real adult who does adult things.
You're a human being.
I'm adulting. This is insane.
That's
and
awesome.
that was one of the greatest moments, along with the fact that I gave a small lecture at university, and
what the fuck?
someone had actually quoted me, and I was like, I was just like shocked because like I'm looking at her Facebook because she messaged me. It's like, "Hey, I want to talk to you," and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sure." And I'm like looking through, and I'm like, "Wait a second, why does this post sound really familiar?" And she like quoted me from that lecture. And I was just like, "Wow, okay, that's cool."
Yeah.
So that is me after years of working as an actual professional, really working at things. And it's just try. Put it out there. No matter what, just put it out there, put it out there, put it out there. Take chances. A shot not taken is a shot wasted.
Yeah.
Damn.
And just always try, like always put it out there. Even if it's garbage, even if it's bad, put it out there, learn from it, improve.
Yeah.
That's my lesson. That's my recommendation.
Aww.
Senpai.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Fuck.
So, Dill, take two?
Oh no,
Yeah.
let Lauren go first.
Oh yeah, sorry, Lauren.
I want to
What?
make sure.
No, Dill can
No.
finish.
You need to have your full thought. I'm gonna say mine. I'm gonna let Dill close out, just to make sure we're
that's
good.
fine. Yeah, I got
All
it.
right.
I swapped over to my phone. I'm sorry.
No
It's all
problem.
good. All good.
Okay. I think you said it best when you said passion, and you should write things that you're passionate about, because if your heart's not in it, then it's going to reflect in your writing.
Definitely.
And for me, I really like learning about things that people are interested in. So for me, if someone is passionate about something and they exude that passion in whatever format that they're putting it out to me in, it makes me want to listen more if they're really into it. Like it's like, let me find out what's so good about this shit that you're pumped about. Like, yeah.
You're not wrong. Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
I think that's like one of the biggest things, and like another thing for me is I feel that I'm a firm believer in like if you do like something once a day, progress will come. You know, if you you know, continuously put like just some effort into something and you keep looking back at it and, you know, refining, like you will become a beast, like no matter what. And if you have passion behind it and this is a passion project, you will just like succeed 100%, and you'll create a following around it because they're interested in what you're passionate about because of how passionate you are about it. So keep doing it, man. I feel like my issue was like getting started, and once I got started, you know, things started working out. And like, you know, you draw inspiration from all the other people in the same medium that's trying to do the same thing. So like, if you are really interested in what one writer does, what makes it so interesting, so you can kind of figure out what you can do to bring something to the table. That's where I conclude my thoughts. What about you, Dill?
I mean, you've all covered a lot of really
good points.
Good points there. I'm not sure where I cut out with that, but
you cut out with the basketball.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't mean to be like, it sounds really lame that, like, you know, I originally came on to talk about a basketball article, but like, you know, I coach basketball, and I see coaching writing a lot in the same way, just in the sense that, you know, people are only going to want it as much as they're willing to take criticism, and especially with younger people, it might be their first time taking criticism, so you have to be patient with them. Mm-hmm. But I've learned that it's really rewarding in that sense. But my biggest advice to new writers would be whatever it is that inspired you to start writing, try to find whatever it is in yourself too. Like it's great that you have something that's like keeping that fire burning for your passion. But like, say you're writing for someone or something, you know, find something to fall back on with yourself too, because if you're writing for someone, like say you're constantly writing for, like, you want somebody to notice something, or, you know, like you want to like get to that level because, you know, somebody really inspired you based off of something, and it just doesn't fall through with that person, or you just don't talk to that person anymore or something, you might lose like a spark that you have. And that's writing such a fragile thing because it's a direct connection to our, you know, your mind, your spirit, all that stuff. So without that, you're just throwing out words. So, you know, find what's in with yourself, find your voice, just keep writing, and, you know, find a good flow for it. I know all that seems like really like cliche, but there's a reason that you hear it so much.
No, that makes sense. I absolutely agree with you.
And you definitely have to stay humble with it, you know, like it doesn't matter how big you get with it. There's always going to be somebody who is better at writing, because everyone's going to objectively find something better. So you have to find it in yourself that, you know, we're always our toughest critics, but at least at some point you can write what you want to write.
Definitely.
And especially with like anime writing. I mean, like, come on. You know, we're all writing about anime because we love anime.
Yeah, that's true.
We love that shit.
You got me.
Yep, definitely. And, you know, if you're going to take anything away from this podcast, if you're not writing and you've consistently said to yourself that, well, not even just writing, you know, if you really like a certain artist or something, you know, like, there's something that you want to get better at, just stop what you're doing, pick up whatever you need to pick up to get going, whether it's your keyboard, even though you should just put your fingers on it. You know, like, just get started, man, because, you know, you can do it too. You just got to believe in yourself and get going, get started.
Mm-hmm. So, absolutely.
Yeah, just want to say thank you to our guests. You know, Lauren Perrin.
You guys are wonderful.
That was great. Aww. And Dill for, you know, really bringing a bunch of insight that I think a lot of listeners needed. So.
Well, thanks for having me. It was a real pleasure.
Yeah.
It's always fun to show with you guys.
Aww, thank you.
Well, we definitely need to have something in the future for Death Note. You know, that would be fun. And
Drunk Death Note rant.
Yes.
Put it all together.
We're doing it. We're definitely doing it. We're gonna schedule it, and we'll see what happens. Unfortunately, this wasn't on Twitch because Twitch was just
shitting itself.
Yeah, it's very bad. I don't know what's going on, but hopefully they fix their shit. So this will be on the usual. It'll be on iTunes, the podcast, and Google Play Music, YouTube, SoundCloud, all the good stuff. So that should go live tomorrow. Usually I would let the YouTube go out on Friday, but I think I'm just going to push it for tomorrow just because we couldn't even do anything live tonight. So you guys have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.
See you next time.
Bye.